The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. Counselors from a dozen species leapt to their feet, tentacles waving, wings fluttering, and voices raised in a cacophony of universal standard. "Order, I will have order," boomed High Counselor Vrek, his massive stone-like frame vibrating with each word. The chamber gradually quieted. "Now, Ambassador Tull, please repeat your report." The slender Prian ambassador stepped forward, antennae twitching nervously. "Our border sensors have detected a human warship entering the Krell sector. It appears to be one of their Dreadnought-class vessels." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. "Impossible," muttered Counselor Mott, his blue skin paling. "The Treaty of Arcturus explicitly forbids human military vessels from entering any territory beyond their own system. Perhaps they've finally decided to finish what they started at Proxima Centauri," hissed Counselor Draz, her reptilian eyes narrowing to slits. High Counselor Vrek raised a massive hand for silence. "Let us not jump to conclusions. Ambassador Tull, have you attempted communication with the human vessel?" "Yes, High Counselor. They acknowledge our hails but refuse to explain their presence. They simply state they are on a sanctioned mission and request clear passage." On the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, Captain Jack Reed studied the stellar map with intense focus. His weathered face reflected decades of naval service, but nothing in his career had prepared him for this mission. "Status report, Commander Bell," the ship's executive officer looked up from her console. "Still being shadowed by 3 Prian vessels, sir. They're maintaining distance but continue to demand we reverse course." Reed nodded. "And the package?" "Secure. In the hold, Captain. Dr. Miller reports all readings are stable." The captain's gaze returned to the map. 20 years since Proxima Centauri. 20 years since humanity had revealed itself to the galactic community in the most horrific way possible. Not that they'd had a choice. The Krell invasion fleet had given them none. "Sir," called Lieutenant Ross from communications, "we're receiving another transmission from the Galactic Council. He paused, brow furrowing. "They're threatening to assemble a defensive fleet if we don't withdraw immediately." Reed sighed. "Send our standard response, Lieutenant." "Aye, sir." In the dimly lit cargo hold of the Thunderchild, Dr. Anna Miller checked the readings on her tablet for the 100th time. The container before her hummed softly, its reinforced walls concealing the most precious cargo humanity had ever transported. She placed her hand against the cool metal surface. "Almost there," she whispered. Back in the council chamber, the debate had grown heated. "We should destroy the human vessel now," insisted Counselor Draz, "before they can deploy whatever weapon they're carrying." "And risk another Proxima Centauri incident," countered Counselor Mott. "The humans annihilated an entire Krell battle fleet with technology we still don't understand." "The Krell were aggressors," reminded Rek. "Humans defended themselves, and now they violate our space," Draz retorted. "What does that make them?" Ambassador Tull cleared his throat. "High Counselor, we've received updated intelligence. The human vessel is on course for the Varishi system." The chamber fell silent. Every counselor knew what resided in the Varishi system, the dying star and its endangered planets, home to billions of Varishi who had no means of evacuation. "Why would humans target the Varishi?" Counselor Mott whispered. "They've never even had contact with Earth." High Counselor Vrek's ancient eyes closed momentarily. "Assemble the defense fleet," he finally said. "The human vessel must be stopped before it reaches Varishi." No one noticed Ambassador Tull quietly slip from the chamber, or the strange look of hope in his eyes. Captain Reed felt the tension on the bridge as the Thunderchild pushed deeper into Galactic Council space. His officers maintained their professionalism, but he could see the strain in their postures, hear it in the clipped responses. "Sir," Commander Bell approached with a datapad. "Council vessels are mobilizing from 3 nearby systems. Intelligence suggests they're assembling a blockade ahead of our path to Varishi." Reed nodded grimly. He'd expected this. "Time to intercept?" "At current speeds, approximately 6 hours." "And time to Varishi?" 8 hours, Captain." Reed studied the tactical display. They would face the Council blockade before reaching their destination. Diplomacy had failed. The Council remained convinced humanity was mounting some kind of attack. "Options, Commander?" Bell hesitated. "We could attempt to outrun them. The Thunderchild's engines outclass most Council vessels. Or we could deploy countermeasures to slip past their blockade. Both risk escalation, Reed mused. Lieutenant Ross, any response to our last transmission to the Varishi government? No, sir. All our attempts at direct communication are being jammed by council frequencies. Reed's jaw tightened. This mission was supposed to be straightforward. Humanity extending a helping hand to a civilization in need. Instead, they were being treated as aggressors, their intentions twisted by 2 decades of fear and suspicion. On the Council command carrier Righteous Judgment, Admiral Pell reviewed the deployment of his ships. 30 vessels formed a curved line across the most direct approach to the Varishi system. Not as many as he would have liked, but it would have to be enough. Admiral, his second-in-command, approached. The human vessel continues its approach. No change in speed or heading. Pell's facial ridges darkened with concern. Have they responded to our warnings? They repeat only that they're on a sanctioned humanitarian mission and request passage. Humanitarian, Pell spat the word. The same. Species that vaporized half a star system claims humanitarian intent. Sir, the officer hesitated. Some on the command staff have questioned whether we should be blocking them. The reports from Varishi are dire. Their star will go supernova within days, not months as previously calculated. Admiral Pell turned sharply. Are you suggesting we allow a human warship to approach a vulnerable population? Do you not recall what their weapons are capable of? Of course not, Admiral, but the Council has spoken. We will prevent their approach by any means necessary. In the Thunderchild's hold, Dr. Miller supervised as her team conducted final preparations. The container that had been their sole focus for months now stood ready, its systems fully calibrated. Dr. Miller, one of her engineers called, we've received updated stellar readings from our forward probes. The Varishi star has accelerated its collapse. We have less time than we thought. Miller felt her heart sink. How much less? 36 hours at most before critical mass. She quickly ran calculations in her head. Even if they reached Varishi, now, deployment would take at least 12 hours to reach full effect. Add the time to reach the system. We need to notify the captain immediately, she said, reaching for the comm unit. Back on the bridge, Reed listened to Miller's report with growing concern. So our window is closing, he concluded. Yes, Captain. If we don't deploy within the next 24 hours, the Varishi star will be beyond the technology's capacity to stabilize. Reed made his decision. Commander Bell, plot a new course. We're going to bypass the blockade. Sir? Bell looked surprised. The only other approach would take us through the Karish Nebula. The radiation would damage our systems. Can we survive it? Yes, but then that's our path. The Council won't expect us to risk our ship that way. Reed turned to communications. Lieutenant Ross, prepare a message to the Council. Inform them we're altering course away from their blockade and withdrawing from Varishi space. But we're not withdrawing, Bell said quietly. Reed met her gaze steadily. No, Commander. We're just taking a different road. The Karish Nebula blazed around the Thunderchild, sheets of cosmic radiation battering the warship's shields. On the bridge, emergency lighting cast everyone in a red glow as systems strained against the onslaught. Shield strength at 63%, reported Lieutenant Gray from the tactical station. Hull temperature rising, but still within acceptable parameters. Captain Reed gripped the arms of his command chair. Time to Nebula Edge? 43 minutes at current speed, Commander Bell answered, her voice steady despite the ship's occasional shudder. Though engineering recommends reducing velocity by 20% to ease strain on the deflectors. Reed shook his head. Maintain speed. Every minute counts now. The nebula had been a desperate gamble. While it would allow them to bypass the Council blockade, the radiation was taking a toll on their systems. More concerning were the effects on their precious cargo. Dr. Miller had reported increasing difficulty maintaining optimal conditions in the hold. Sir, called Lieutenant Ross, we're receiving a weak transmission. It appears to be from the Varishi system, but it's not on any official channel. Reed straightened. Put it through. The main view screen flickered, distorted by nebula interference. A figure gradually resolved, humanoid with pale, translucent skin and large, multifaceted eyes. This is Marn of the Varishi Scientific Authority, the alien spoke in halting universal standard. If you receive this, human vessel, please respond. This is Captain Jack Reed of the United Earthship Thunderchild. We receive you, though your signal is weak. Relief visibly washed over the alien's features. Captain Reed, our government denies your approach under council pressure, but many of us know the truth of our star's condition. The council has been less than forthcoming about the severity. We understand your star will go supernova within 36 hours, Reed said. We're bringing technology that might stabilize it. Marn's eyes widened. 36? Our own calculations suggested 3 days at minimum. The alien scientist seemed to collect himself. Captain, the council has convinced many that you come with hostile intent. They speak of the Proxima incident as proof humans only bring destruction. Reed's jaw tightened. 20 years, and still humanity carried that burden. The Proxima incident was defensive. We're coming to help, I give you my word. Some of us believe you, Marn replied. I've sent you navigational data for a direct approach to our main research facility. We will be ready to assist your deployment. The transmission cut out as another wave of radiation washed over the ship. Commander Bell studied the data they'd received. If this is accurate, we can reach their facility 2 hours faster than our original course. Verify it as best you can, then adjust course, Reed ordered. In the council war room, Admiral Pell received the news with cold fury. What do you mean, lost them? He demanded. The tactical officer swallowed nervously. The human vessel transmitted its withdrawal message, altered course away from our blockade, and then disappeared from our sensors near the Karish Nebula. They entered the nebula? Pell was incredulous. No military vessel would risk such radiation exposure. Yet all evidence suggests that's precisely what they did, Admiral. Pell's mind raced. If the humans were willing to damage their own ship by traversing the nebula, their mission must be of paramount importance, or their weapon too devastating to be stopped. They're still heading for Varishi, he realized aloud. Recalculate their most likely exit point from the nebula and redeploy our fastest ships to intercept. Admiral, another officer interrupted. We've detected unauthorized transmissions between the Varishi system and the direction of the nebula. Pell's eyes narrowed. Someone is collaborating with the humans. Contact the Varishi government immediately. I want those responsible identified and detained. In the Thunderchild's medical bay, the ship's doctor treated crew members suffering from radiation exposure. Despite protective measures, the nebula's effects were taking a toll. How many more, Doctor? Reed asked as he entered. Dr. Wen looked up from her patient. 17 with radiation sickness, Captain. Most are mild cases, but 3 are severe enough to require intensive treatment. Reed nodded grimly. And our passenger? Dr. Wen's expression softened slightly. Holding stable, the containment system is working, though Dr. Miller reports increasing power fluctuations. We'll be clear of the nebula soon, Reed assured her, though concern gnawed at him. The mission was already compromised, his ship damaged, crew suffering, and a council fleet surely reorganizing to intercept them. Yet turning back was not an option. Billions of Varishi lives hung in the balance. As he returned to the bridge, Reed wondered not for the first time if humanity's reputation would ever recover from the Proxima incident, or if they would forever be seen as destroyers rather than saviors. The Thunderchild burst from the Karish Nebula like a wounded animal, trailing wisps of luminescent gas. Inside, damage control teams rushed through corridors, sealing radiation leaks and rerouting power through backup systems. Status report, Captain Reed demanded as he entered the bridge from his inspection of the lower decks. Commander Bell didn't look up from her console. Engines at 78% efficiency. Weapons systems compromised but functional. Communications restored to near-optimal levels. And our pursuers? Lieutenant Gray studied the tactical display. 3 council vessels detected on an intercept course. Estimated contact in 22 minutes. Reed nodded grimly. The Nebula Gambit had worked, but only partially. They'd bypassed the main blockade, but the Council had anticipated their exit point with frustrating accuracy. Distance to Varishi? He asked. 1 hour at maximum sustainable speed, Captain. Not enough time to reach the planet before confrontation. Reed considered their options, none of them appealing. Captain, Lieutenant Ross interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the lead Council vessel. The view screen activated to reveal Admiral Pell's stern face, his expression one of grim determination. Human vessel, This is Admiral Pell of the Galactic Council Defense Force. You have violated sovereign space and evaded a lawful blockade. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Reed stepped forward. Admiral, we're on a humanitarian mission to save the Varishi people. Their star will go supernova much sooner than the Council has publicly acknowledged. Your concern for the Varishi is noted, Pell replied coldly. But the Council will handle the evacuation of critical personnel. Evacuation? Reed couldn't hide his shock. Admiral, there are over 4 billion Varishi. Your evacuation ships could save what, a few million at most? Something flickered in Pell's eyes. The situation is regrettable, but unavoidable. The Varishi star's deterioration was unexpected. It doesn't have to be unavoidable, Reed pressed. We have technology that can stabilize their star, at least long enough for a proper evacuation. So you claim, Pell responded. Yet you approach in a warship, violate treaties, and refuse inspection. These are not the actions of a humanitarian mission. Reed felt frustration building. We used a warship because it's the only vessel class with shields capable of withstanding the solar radiation we'll encounter. As for inspection, we've offered data on our stabilization technology multiple times. The Council has refused to even review it. Captain, Commander Bell whispered urgently. Dr. Miller needs to speak with you immediately. Reed nodded slightly. Admiral, I ask you to stand down and allow us passage. Billions of lives depend on it. You have 10 minutes to comply with our boarding order, Pell answered, ending the transmission. Reed turned to his executive officer. Put Dr. Miller through. The scientist's face appeared on screen, her expression grave. Captain, the stellar readings are worse than we thought. The Varishi star has entered the final phase of collapse. We have less than 3 hours before supernova. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Options? Reed finally asked. We need to deploy now, Miller replied. Not at the star itself, that would take too long to reach, but we could target the deployment at the L1 Lagrange point. It's not ideal, and will reduce effectiveness by 30%, but it's our only chance given the time frame. The, L1 point is still 30 minutes away at our current position, Commander Bell noted. Miller nodded. And we need at least 40 minutes to prepare for deployment from this distance. Reed made his decision. Begin preparations immediately. Commander Bell, set course for the L1 point. Maximum speed. Sir, that will bring us into direct conflict with the Council vessels. I'm aware, Commander. Reed's voice hardened. Tactical. Ready defensive systems only. We're not firing first, but we are completing this mission. As the Thunderchild surged forward, the 3 Council ships moved to form a blockade position. Weapon systems on both sides hummed to life. In the hold, Dr. Miller and her team worked frantically to recalibrate their equipment for the new deployment plan. The massive container they'd brought all this way now glowed softly from within, the power signature of its contents becoming increasingly unstable. Will it work from the L1 point? One of her engineers asked. Miller didn't look up from her calculations. It has to. The vacuum between the Thunderchild and the Council vessels crackled with tension. On the bridge, Captain Reed watched the tactical display as the 3 alien ships adjusted their formation to block the human warship's path. They're charging weapons, Captain, Lieutenant Gray reported. Reed nodded. Hold course, shields at maximum. The ship's communication system chimed. Sir, we're being hailed again. On screen, Admiral Pell's face appeared, his expression even, sterner than before. Captain Reed, this is your final warning. Alter course immediately, or we will open fire. Reed stood from his command chair. Admiral, I'm sending you our latest stellar readings of the Varishi Sun. Your scientists can verify them. The star will go supernova in less than 3 hours. Pell's eyes narrowed as data streamed to his ship. These readings contradict our own scientists' assessments. Your scientists are wrong, Admiral. Or perhaps they've been instructed to downplay the danger. Reed leaned forward. We don't have time for this standoff. Every minute we delay costs Varishi lives. Before Pell could respond, a new transmission cut in. The image split to reveal Marn, the Varishi scientist they'd communicated with earlier. Behind him stood several other Varishi, their translucent skin reflecting the emergency lighting of what appeared to be a research facility. Admiral Pell, Marn said, his voice firm despite obvious fear. Our own readings confirm the human data. The Council's assessment is outdated or deliberately misleading. Pell's facial ridges darkened. Marn, you've exceeded your authority. The Council has known for weeks that evacuation would be impossible for most of our population, Marn interrupted. While they promised aid, they've been secretly prioritizing the removal of our world's rare minerals and artifacts. Reed watched Pell closely, seeing the Admiral's composure falter slightly. The humans offer a solution, Marn continued. We've reviewed their technology's specifications. While experimental, the science is sound. It could buy us the time needed for proper evacuation. This is not a Council-sanctioned intervention, Pell insisted. No, Reed agreed, because the Council never intended to sanction any meaningful help. Now, Admiral, I ask one final time. Let us pass. A tense silence stretched between them. Reed could almost see the calculations running behind Pell's eyes, weighing orders against conscience, duty against morality. Finally, the Admiral spoke, his voice quieter. What exactly is this technology you're deploying? Dr. Miller stepped into view beside Reed. It's a stellar stabilization matrix, essentially an artificial magnetic field generator that can temporarily counteract the gravitational collapse of a star's core. It won't prevent the supernova permanently, but our models indicate it can delay it by 17 to 20 months. Enough time to evacuate the entire population, Marn added. Pell's expression remained guarded. Such technology could also be weaponized, used to accelerate stellar collapse rather than prevent it. Yes, Reed acknowledged, which is why we approached openly, announced our intentions, and have offered full technical specifications. We're not here to weaponize anything, Admiral. The bridge fell silent as Pell seemed to consider their words. Behind him, his officers waited tensely for orders. You have 1 hour, the Admiral finally said. My vessels will escort you to the deployment position. If at any point our sensors detect anything inconsistent with your stated purpose, we will open fire. Relief washed over Reed's face. Understood, Admiral. Thank you. As the transmission ended, Commander Bell approached. Think he's sincere or just buying time for reinforcements? Doesn't matter, Reed replied. We'll take whatever time he gives us. Get Dr. Miller everything she needs for deployment. The journey to the L1 Lagrange point proceeded under the watchful eyes of the Council vessels. In the Thunderchild's hold, Dr. Miller and her team made final preparations, their movements precise despite the growing time pressure. The containment unit now stood fully activated, its inner workings visible through transparent panels. Inside, a swirling mass of energy pulsed and shifted, contained by powerful electromagnetic fields. Final diagnostic complete, one of Miller's engineers reported. The matrix is stable and ready for deployment. Miller nodded, allowing herself a moment of hope. 20 years of research since the Proxima incident, since humanity had been forced to reveal its most advanced technology in an act of desperate self-defense. 20 years working to prove that the same principles that had obliterated the Krell invasion fleet could also be used to save lives. Begin deployment sequence, she ordered. Outside the ship, massive panels on the Thunderchild's hull began to open, revealing the deployment mechanism that would launch the stabilization matrix toward the dying star. The Council vessels maintained their distance, weapons still trained on the human ship. On his command vessel, Admiral Pell watched with a mixture of suspicion and grudging hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had indeed come to help. The stabilization matrix streaked away from the Thunderchild in a brilliant flash of blue-white energy. Captain Reed watched from the bridge as the tactical display tracked its progress toward the L1 Lagrange point between the Varishi planet and its dying sun. Deployment successful, Dr. Miller reported, her voice tight with concentration. Matrix is maintaining integrity during transit. Reed nodded. Time to activation? 7 minutes until it reaches position. Another 3 for the field to establish itself. The bridge crew worked quietly, every person acutely aware of the billions of lives hanging in the balance. Through the view screen they could see the Varishi sun, its surface roiling with massive solar flares, the visible symptoms of its imminent collapse. Sir, Lieutenant Ross called from communications. We're receiving transmissions from the Varishi surface. They're watching the deployment. Reed glanced at the communications officer. Put it on audio. The bridge filled with thousands of voices, overlapping, distant, in the alien language of the Varishi. The universal translator struggled to keep up, but the sentiment was clear: hope, fear, gratitude, prayer. Commander Bell moved to stand beside her captain. They know what we're trying to do. Yes, Reed said quietly. Let's hope it works. On the Council command ship, Admiral Pell observed the deployment with guarded vigilance. His science officer monitored the readings closely. The human device appears to be functioning as described, the officer reported. I'm detecting the formation of an artificial magnetic field at the L1 point. Pell nodded slowly. And the star's condition? Deterioration continues, but the officer paused, rechecking his instruments. There's a slight reduction in the core collapse rate. I need more time to confirm if this is significant. The Admiral's gaze shifted to a secondary display showing the Varishi homeworld. A beautiful, blue-green sphere, home to an ancient and peaceful civilization. His orders had been clear: prevent human intervention at all costs. The Council had already written off the Varishi system as a regrettable casualty, focusing instead on extracting valuable resources before the supernova. Yet here were the humans, the species the Council had feared and mistrusted since Proxima Centauri, attempting to save billions when his own government had deemed them expendable. Admiral, his communications officer interrupted his thoughts. We're receiving an urgent message from the Council. They've dispatched a strike fleet once they detected the human vessel had broken through our blockade. Estimated arrival in 17 minutes. Pell's facial ridges darkened. A strike fleet wouldn't come to observe or contain. It would come to destroy. Back on the Thunderchild, the atmosphere grew tense as they monitored the Matrix's activation sequence. Field strength at 60% and climbing, reported Dr. Miller. Initial readings show it's beginning to counteract the gravitational collapse. A cheer started to rise from the bridge crew, but died quickly as Lieutenant Gray called out from tactical. Captain, multiple vessels detected entering the system. Configuration matches Council heavy cruisers. Reed's expression hardened. How many? 7 ships, sir, and they're on an attack vector. Before Reed could respond, Admiral Pell's image appeared on the view screen. Captain Reed, the Admiral's voice was urgent. The Council has dispatched a strike fleet. They have orders to destroy your vessel and the stabilization device. Reed met the alien's gaze. Can you intercept them? My 3 ships against 7 cruisers? Pell gave a grim laugh. We would not last long. However, his expression shifted to one of determination. I can buy you time. Commander Bell stepped forward. Admiral, are you suggesting you'll engage Council vessels? I'm suggesting I will uphold the true mandate of the Council, to preserve life. Pell straightened. How much longer until your device is fully operational? Dr. Miller answered. 9 minutes until full field strength. At that point, it should be self-sustaining. Pell nodded. Then we will give you those 9 minutes, Captain. Reed. As the transmission ended, Reed turned to his tactical officer. Status of our weapon systems? Still compromised from the nebula, sir. We could manage defensive fire, but nothing sustained. Reed considered their options. The Thunderchild had accomplished its primary mission. The Matrix was deployed, but it remained vulnerable until fully activated. If the Council strike force destroyed it now, the Varishi were doomed. Captain, Commander Bell said quietly, we could position the Thunderchild between the Matrix and the incoming vessels. Reed understood immediately what she was suggesting. Using their ship as a physical shield. It was a desperate move, one that could cost them everything. Dr. Miller, he called, if we move the ship, will it disrupt the Matrix activation? No, she replied after a moment's calculation. The deployment is independent now. But Captain, if those ships target the Matrix directly with enough firepower, even at full strength it could destabilize. Reed made his decision. Helm, reposition us between the Matrix and the incoming Council fleet. Tactical, divert all available power to forward shields. As the Thunderchild moved into its protective position, they watched as Admiral Pell's 3 vessels accelerated toward the incoming strike force. The bridge fell silent as everyone recognized the sacrifice the alien commander was making. Sir, Lieutenant Ross reported solemnly, Admiral Pell is broadcasting a message to all Council vessels. He's declaring the strike force in violation of the Council's founding principle to preserve sentient life. Reed nodded. It seems we may have misjudged some members of the Council. Outside, the first exchanges of weapons fire blazed between Pell's squadron and the advancing strike force. The Admiral's ships were outgunned, but they fought with precision and determination, clearly aiming to delay rather than defeat their opponents. Matrix field strength at 85%, Dr. Miller reported. 7 minutes to self-sustainment. Reed watched the battle unfolding before them. One of Pell's ships was already showing signs of severe damage, its shields flickering as it continued to fire. "Hold position," he ordered his crew. "We stand as the last line of defense." The space around the dying Verishi sun blazed with weapons fire. Admiral Pell's squadron, now reduced to 2 vessels, continued their desperate delaying action against the Council strike force. The third ship had been disabled, drifting powerless, but with its crew still alive. A small mercy in the escalating conflict. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Captain Reed watched the tactical display with growing concern. Despite Pell's heroic effort, 4 Council cruisers had broken through and were advancing rapidly toward their position. "Matrix status?" he demanded. Dr. Miller's voice came through strained but clear. 92% field strength, 4 more minutes until self-sustainment. 4 minutes they might not have. Reed turned to tactical. "Lieutenant Gray, target the lead vessels with warning shots. Make it clear we're defending the Matrix, not attacking their ships." "Aye, Captain." The Thunderchild's compromised weapons systems came to life, firing precisely calculated bursts across the paths of the advancing cruisers. 2 vessels altered course slightly, but the other 2 continued their direct approach. "They're not stopping, sir," Commander Bell observed. "No," Reed agreed grimly. "They're not." He had hoped to avoid direct conflict with the Council ships. The diplomatic fallout would be severe, potentially undoing the goodwill humanity had carefully built since the Proxima incident. But the alternative, allowing the Verishi to perish, was unthinkable. "Lock weapons on their propulsion systems," Reed ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." Before they could fire, the bridge rocked violently as the first Council cruiser launched. Its attack. Emergency alerts blared as damage reports flooded in. "Direct hit to our starboard shield grid," Gray reported. "Shield capacity down to 40%. Reed gripped his chair as another impact shook the ship. "Return fire. Target engines only." The Thunderchild's weapons lanced out, striking one of the Council vessels with precision. The alien ship's engines flickered and died, leaving it drifting, but still combat-capable. "Sir," Lieutenant Ross called urgently. "Incoming transmission from the Verishi surface." The viewscreen split to show Marn, the Verishi scientist, his translucent features tight with determination. "Captain Reed, we're detecting the Matrix's effect. The stellar core's collapse has slowed significantly." A brief cheer went up from the bridge crew, cut short as another impact rocked the ship. "Shields at 28%, Gray reported. "We can't take much more of this." Miller's voice came through again. 97% field strength, 2 minutes to self-sustainment. 2 minutes that seemed impossibly long as the remaining Council cruisers pressed their attack. The Thunderchild shuddered under repeated impacts, systems failing across the ship. "Captain," Commander Bell reported, "we're losing structural integrity. In sections 12 through 15. Emergency bulkheads engaged." Reed nodded grimly. Those sections contained crew quarters and non-essential systems, but the damage was spreading. If the Council ships breached their engineering section, the mission, and their lives, would be over. Suddenly, new alerts sounded from the tactical station. "Sir," Gray called, surprise evident in his voice. "Multiple vessels entering the system. They're human ships." Reed turned sharply. "Confirm!" "Confirmed, Captain. IFF identifies them as the UES Dauntless, Resolute, and Defiant. 3 heavy cruisers on intercept course with the Council fleet." The bridge crew exchanged looks of stunned relief as a familiar voice came over the communication system. "Thunderchild, this is Captain Terra west of the Dauntless. Looks like you could use some assistance." Reed couldn't help the smile that spread across his face. "Your timing is impeccable, Captain West. We've been monitoring your mission from the border," West replied. "When we detected Council reinforcements heading your way, Earth Command authorized us to provide support. Stand by." The tactical display updated to show the 3 human cruisers engaging the remaining Council vessels. Unlike the Thunderchild, these ships were at full combat readiness, their superior technology quickly turning the tide of the battle. Matrix. Field strength at 100%, Dr. Miller announced triumphantly. Self-sustainment achieved. The stellar core is stabilizing. Cheers erupted across the bridge. Reed allowed his crew a moment of celebration before turning back to business. Damage report, he ordered. Commander Bell consulted her display. Multiple hull breaches, shields critically depleted. Engineering reports the warp drive is offline, but life support is stable. And casualties? Bell's expression sobered. 12 injured, 4 critically. No fatalities reported yet. Reed nodded, grateful for that small mercy. Lieutenant Ross, open a channel to Admiral Pell's vessel. The Admiral's face appeared on screen, his ship clearly damaged but intact. Captain Reed, it seems your reinforcements have arrived in time. Yes, Admiral. And the Matrix is now self-sustaining. The Varishi star has been stabilized. Something like relief crossed Pell's alien features. Then it was worth it. Your actions will be remembered, Admiral, Reed said solemnly. You chose lives over orders today. As did you, human, Pell replied. Perhaps there is more to your species than the galaxy has allowed itself to understand. The communication ended as Pell's ship moved to join the defensive formation around the Matrix. On the main view screen, the Varishi sun still burned fiercely, but the violent flares had subsided, noticeably. The artificial magnetic field was visible as a faint blue shimmer between the star and the planet. Humanity's gift to a civilization they had never met before today. Captain, Lieutenant Ross called. We're receiving transmissions from across the Varishi planet. Their celebrations, Reed nodded. Put them through. The sounds of alien jubilation filled the bridge. Musical tones and rhythmic patterns that the universal translator identified as expressions of joy, relief, and gratitude. Among them, distinct voices could be heard calling what the translator rendered as the human saviors. Captain West's voice cut through the emotional moment. Thunderchild, the remaining Council vessels are withdrawing. We'll maintain defensive positions until relief ships arrive. Thank you, Captain West, Reed replied. What's the status of the Council strike force? 2 disabled, 3 retreating, none destroyed, West reported with evident satisfaction. And I've just received word from Earth Command. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session regarding the Varishi situation. Commander Bell raised an eyebrow. I imagine there will be some difficult questions for certain Council members. Indeed, Reed agreed, particularly about why they concealed the true timeline of the stellar collapse. In the hours that followed, relief vessels arrived, both human and from sympathetic Council races. Medical teams treated the injured while engineering crews began repairs on the damaged ships. Admiral Pell formally requested asylum with the human fleet, knowing his actions would be viewed as treasonous by hardliners in the Council. 3 days later, as the Thunderchild prepared to depart Varishi space, a small delegation of Varishi representatives came aboard. Marn led them onto the bridge, where Captain Reed and his senior officers waited. The words of our language are insufficient to express our gratitude, Marn said, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the ship's lights. When the Council abandoned us to our fate, humanity, strangers from across the galaxy, risked everything to save us. He gestured to one of his companions, who stepped forward bearing an intricately crafted crystalline sculpture. This contains the genetic and cultural records of our people. We present it to Earth as a symbol of eternal friendship between our worlds. Reed accepted the gift with appropriate solemnity. On behalf of Earth and humanity, I thank you. We came not for reward or recognition, but because it was right. And that, Marn replied, is why the galaxy needs humanity. As the Varishi delegation departed, Reed stood at the view screen, gazing at the now stable star. Commander Bell joined him, her expression thoughtful. 20 years since Proxima Centauri, she mused. When humanity revealed itself to the galaxy by destroying an invasion fleet, Reed nodded. They saw only our capacity for destruction then. Perhaps now they'll begin to see our capacity for salvation as well. Alert. Human war vessel enters the sector. Bell quoted with a slight smile. I imagine that phrase will carry a different meaning in Varishi history books. Let's hope so, Commander. Reed turned to his crew. Helm, Set course for Earth. Let's go home. As the Thunderchild departed, escorted by its sister ships, news of the Varishi rescue spread throughout the galaxy. The story of the humans who defied the Council to save billions would be told and retold across countless worlds. For some, it reinforced fears of humanity's willingness to ignore galactic authority. For others, it kindled a new hope. And on hundreds of ships throughout Council space, captains received urgent messages containing a new protocol. If human vessels enter your sector, approach with caution, but do not assume hostile intent. It wasn't peace, or even full acceptance, but it was a beginning.